Tua and the Elephant, written by R.P.Harris. Chapter 7. An Elephant by Any Other Name. An elephant on the porch is not the same thing as an elephant in the kitchen. Elephants seem to grow larger indoors, somehow. One can't help comparing them to the objects around them, like the refrigerator, the stove, and the kitchen sink. But an elephant is bigger than all of those objects, even a young elephant. And what's more, an elephant is constantly moving, flapping her ears, swinging her trunk, swishing her tail, and rocking her weight back and forth and from side to side, as if swaying to music only she can hear. Kitchens with elephants in them are overcrowded rooms. Tua and Auntie Orchid sat down at the kitchen table, which had to be pushed up against the wall to make room for the elephant, and contemplated on the problem, each in her own way. Tua cupped her chin in her hands and rested her elbows on the table, while Auntie Orchid studied the ceiling for inspiration. What are we going to do, Auntie? Tua sighed. We? Auntie Orchid raised her eyebrows so high on her forehead that they looked in danger of rolling over the top of her head and sliding down the back of her neck. We? She repeated. Yes, Auntie, you, me, and Chang. You can stop calling her Chang for a start, she said. We need to give her a proper name. Oh, yes, please. Naming an elephant is not as easy as it might seem. Dogs, for instance, are quite happy with just about any name you give them. And if you change a dog's name, even one that he's quite fond of, he'll still come when you call. Cats, on the other hand, pay no attention whatsoever to the names we give them. They have their own names. Thank you very much. That is why when you call a cat by the name you've given her, she looks at you like you'll never be capable of learning anything. Why do I bother? Her expression seems to say. But elephants not only expect to be named, they demand it. And they are very particular about their names. Give an elephant a name it doesn't care for, and you've got an elephant with a chip on its trunk. So you see the problem. Growing up in the country, Auntie Orchid had known elephants that were happy with their names, and she had known elephants that were not at all happy with them. The last thing Auntie Orchid wanted was an unhappy elephant in her kitchen. Now, before you say anything, Tua, how about calling her Pon Pon? Tua suggested. Pon's the name of my very best friend at... But before Tua could finish her sentence, Auntie Orchid flipped the tablecloth over her niece's head. Flashing a grin at the elephant, she whispered, Don't pay attention to her. She's young, impetuous, and flighty, with an overabundant imagination. She's only teasing. It's a joke. Hey, Tua said, clawing out from underneath the tablecloth. What did you do that for? I think we can come up with a name that's just a nit-noi more sophisticated than Pon Pon, don't you? But Pon Tip's my best friend at school, Tua explained. And if one pawn means happiness, then two pawns means double happiness. Be that as it may, trilled Auntie Orchid, she's happy and I'm happy. Even so, we're both happy, Tua said, looking to the elephant for confirmation. The elephant withdrew her trunk from the cupboard and waved it over her head. But is Pon Pon really a proper name for an elephant? Auntie Orchid pleaded. Look at her. Look at those eyes. Wouldn't you just love to have eyes like that? They are positively regal, she gushed. They are a queen's eyes. She might have dropped to her knees and touched her forehead to the elephant's foot, which is what she imagined one did in the presence of a queen, but she restrained herself. She's awfully pretty, Tua agreed, but I don't see what that's got to do with... She should be named after a queen, Auntie Orchid decided. But which one? There are so many queens to choose from. Makita, Queen of Sheba. Cleopatra, Queen of Nile. Suryotai, Queen of Ayutthaya. Tua threw up her hands. She's not a queen. She's like me. A peanut? Auntie Orchid gasped before biting down on her glimmering fingernails in a mock horror. Auntie Orchid had never approved of naming Tua after a peanut, although it fit her as snug as a shell. Oh, an orchid? Tua snapped back when she saw Auntie Orchid wince beneath the cold cream and clutch her throat. She recalled her mother's words. A sharp tongue cuts both ways. Orchid is a very nice name, Tua corrected herself. We could always call her Orchid. Taken. Auntie Orchid cleared her throat. Already taken, thank you very much. 2 orchids would only confuse the public, darling, she explained. It just isn't done. They had reached an impasse. An impasse in a conversation is rather like a roadblock in traffic. It's the jam in traffic jam. Tua hunched her shoulders, grinning impishly. Oh, all right. We'll call her Pawn then, Auntie Orchid sighed. Pawn, Tua called to the elephant. Pawn, Auntie Orchid corrected her niece. 1 pawn is plenty pawn enough.